Hello and welcome. I'm Saeed from StoryPlanet.net. Dive right into the essence of the most captivating books without reading them cover to cover. Whether you're on the go, at the gym, or just relaxing at home, we offer you a unique and enriching listening experience. Today, we are exploring the book, The Extended Phenotype, a creation by Richard Dawkins. In The Extended Phenotype, 1982, Richard Dawkins presents a fresh perspective on biology and evolution, centering on genes rather than individual organisms in the process of natural selection. This shift reveals a world of intriguing ideas. Before we delve into these revelations, it's interesting to note that Richard Dawkins, a Royal Society Fellow, was the Professor for the Public Understanding of Science at Oxford from 1995 to 2008. He is acclaimed for his bestseller, The Selfish Gene, 1976, and has received various awards, such as the 1987 Royal Society of Literature Prize and the 1987 Los Angeles Times Literary Prize. With 12 key ideas to unveil, brace yourself for a deep dive into this captivating book on StoryPlanet.net. To start, discover evolution through genetics. The essence of the text is about shifting focus from the traditional perspective of Darwin's theory related to big organisms to a gene-centric view. Genes are seen as the true players striving for survival by influencing physical and behavioral traits for reproduction. The discussion emphasizes the significance of gains in adaptation, mutation, and replication, showcasing their competitive nature in evolution. Examples like the absence of a blue-eye gene, the anglerfish, and a snail's shell are used to illustrate these genetic processes. Key idea number 1. Genes and organisms are both important factors to consider in evolution. Ever since Darwin's theory of evolution, the concept of survival of the fittest has been popular. Biologists traditionally focus on individual organisms, but a shift to viewing genes as the key unit of competition is important. Just as with the Necker cube, both organism-centric and gene-centric perspectives are valid and offer unique insights into evolutionary processes. Key idea number 2. Genes can influence our lives but do not solely determine our future. Misconceptions exist regarding genes suggesting a predetermined fate. Genes can influence but not dictate outcomes. Environmental factors are crucial. Understanding genetics and terminology is important to avoid believing in deterministic outcomes based solely on genetic predispositions. Genes and environments both play significant roles in shaping individuals, with neither having absolute control over one's destiny. Key idea number 3. Some organisms do not have optimal traits, suggesting that Darwin's understanding was incomplete. Geckos and sharks showcase evolutionary traits for protection and predation. Not all traits are optimal, due to time lags and limited genetic variation affecting adaptation. Optimal traits may not always benefit the group, leading to conflicts between egoistic and altruistic behaviors. Evolutionary theory has limitations in fully explaining the diversity of traits seen in organisms. Key idea number 4. Organisms act against their own benefit at times. Organisms may not always act in their own best interest for passing on genes. The anglerfish manipulates other fish for survival by using a lure. The manipulated fish evolve to avoid the lure, while the anglerfish adapts to continue its manipulation. The relationship ensures the manipulator's survival and emphasizes adaptability for survival. Key idea number 5. Genes, not organisms, are the main replicators. Organisms have an evolutionary drive to compete and thrive to ensure their genes are replicated. Genes are active replicators that influence an organism's phenotype to increase reproduction. Passive replicators, like Xerox edge sheets, have no influence on their replication. Replicators can be germline, infinite copies, or dead-end, finite copies. Memes, like ideas and information, can also act as replicators, influencing brain contents, with catchy or popular memes being more likely to spread. Key idea number 6. Organisms are carriers of genes. Organisms serve as vehicles for genes, rather than being replicators themselves. They carry and propagate genes, but do not replicate in the same way. The concept of non-inheritance of acquired characteristics shows that organisms are not replicators. Genes and organisms are in different categories, with genes being replicators and organisms being vehicles. This distinction is key in understanding evolution accurately. Key idea number 7. Genes compete through outlaws and modifiers. Genes, not organisms, are the true drivers of evolution, competing as genetic replicators through phenotypic effects, influencing traits like appearance and behavior. Successful replicators influence mating and offspring, surviving in the gene pool despite not always acting in the genome's best interest. Outlaws, like segregation distorter genes, can manipulate replication but can be countered by modifiers, other genes acting collectively against them, illustrating how genes work together to combat genetic corruption. Key idea number 8. Genes play a central role in explaining the presence of extra DNA in our biological makeup. Humans have extra DNA that biologists find puzzling due to their organism-centric perspective. Viewing DNA from a gene-centric perspective reveals its purpose is for its own survival, not just the organism's functioning. This extra DNA acts akin to a passenger in a car, not causing harm but ensuring its replication. Biologists' failure to recognize this is compared to an alien's confusion over human security measures from an alternative utopian perspective. Understanding DNA's role in its own survival requires a shift in perspective for earthling biologists towards gene-centric evolutionary principles. Key idea number 9. The term fitness has caused confusion in discussions about evolution. Fitness, in evolutionary terms, has multiple meanings. It can refer to an organism's ability to survive and reproduce, as well as include the success of its close relatives in passing on genes, known as inclusive fitness. There can be confusion around the concept of fitness and its implications in evolution, emphasizing the need to shift focus from the selfish organism to the selfish gene. Key idea number 10. Genes have an impact that extends beyond an individual organism. Evolutionary perspective shifted to survival of genes over organism. Phenotype reflects observable traits influenced by genes in combination with the environment. Phenotypic expression extends beyond individual organisms, evident in examples like caddisfly nests and spider webs as extended phenotypes. Beaver dams showcase joint extended phenotype, reflecting expressions of an entire beaver family. Key idea number 11. Multiple organisms combined can result in external gene influence. The extended phenotype of an organism includes traits that influence its survival or reproduction, such as a pigeon's nest. Actions like foraging for nest materials that do not impact survival are not part of the extended phenotype. Shared expressions of extended phenotypes, like the thickened shell of a snail influenced by a parasite, can involve genetic changes to enhance survival for both organisms, demonstrating how an extended phenotype can be another organism's living tissue. Key idea number 12. The Necker cube flipping demonstrates the concept of the extended phenotype. The text discusses the Necker cube as a visual representation of conflicting views in biology, focusing on the debate between the traditional organism-centric perspective and the genocentric perspective. It uses the example of the Bruce effect in mice to illustrate how genes can influence behavior to serve their own replication and survival, even if not part of the organism's genome. This highlights the central theorem of the extended phenotype, where an organism's behavior aims to enhance the survival of the genes responsible for that behavior. In conclusion, the book explores two views in biology: the conventional Darwinian view focusing on individual organisms and the modern extended phenotype view emphasizing genes as focal units. By considering both views, a more comprehensive understanding of biology can be achieved. It suggests reading The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins for further insight on genes and evolution. Thank you for listening to this summary. If you enjoyed this exploration, we invite you to discover other fascinating books on storyplanet.net. Don't wait any longer. A multitude of books, stories, and knowledge await you there. See you soon on storyplanet.net.